Hi everyone, I'm Paula Martinac and I'm coming to you today from Charlotte, North Carolina. Today I'll be reading an excerpt from my new novel Testimony, which was published in January by Bywater Books. I'm reading a scene from the first chapter, so you don't need much information. All you need to know is that the protagonist is Jen, and she's a lesbian. Her friend is Fenton. He's a gay man. They both teach at a small women's college in rural Virginia, and the year is 1960. And then the big thing that you need to know is that one of their colleagues named Mark has been arrested for having sex with a man in the public park. And that's where I'm going to pick up. After her second class, Jen called Fenton in the theater, but he was skittish and said he couldn't talk. First day pandemonium, he claimed. He was the lone drama teacher at the college, who also cast and directed all the school plays, managing students from both Baines and its brother college, Davison Lee. Jen waited until she was packed up to head home, then dropped in at the theater to gauge for herself how her friend was holding up under the weight of the news about Mark. She tagged along behind him through the theater wings as he took inventory of props that might suit for the fall production of Charlie's Aunt. He'd lost some weight since she'd last seen him. Slender to begin with, now his jacket hung off him loosely, like a teenager who had borrowed his father's clothes. "Hon, you don't want to be seen with me right now." He glanced around as if spies might be hiding in the scenery and props. "It's not safe." The fear she had when Ruby told her about Mark resurfaced as a catch in her throat. "Are you and Mark involved?" Fenton continued to inspect the props, making notes on his checklist, but she saw a flicker of pain in his hazel eyes. "No names, please." After a pause, he continued, "It's been over for a while." She waited, but he didn't elaborate. "Well, what say you come for barbecue on Saturday? We'll try to forget what's happening and have a gay old time." He winced at the word gay, but aloud, "I did miss barbecue when I was up north. Count me in." "You could bring me flowers," she suggested. "Everyone will think we finally fell in love." "What they'll think is you finally lost your mind, given up all hope of finding a normal man." She lowered her voice. "Little do they know I only prefer abnormal men like you." He put down a china vase he'd been assessing and turned toward her with a pinched look. "Jen, you realize how serious this is." "I know." "They caught 5 men. They won't stop there." Fenton forced his trembling hand into his jacket pocket. "I had a nightmare about Mark last night. I told him so many times how risky his behavior was, parks and tea rooms and such. But did he listen? And it turns out he was doing it with a Negro behind Big Bo, for God's sake." She flinched at the dismissive mention of Mark's Negro lover. She never took Fenton for a bigot, but he was so upset this wasn't the time to press the issue. The town's venerable shrine to the Confederate dead, called Big Bo, featured the names of local soldiers engraved along its base, plus the battles they served in. It took its nickname from the bronze statue mounted on the pedestal of an officer on a prancing horse, almost as majestic as Robert E. Lee on Monument Avenue in Richmond. "So you never—" "No, I always play it safe." She wasn't sure how safe it could be, frequenting bars in Richmond, but she couldn't point that out with Fenton so distraught. "Sometimes I think gay girls have it so much easier," he said. "You don't have to meet up in bathrooms where the person in the next stall might be an undercover cop." Jen bristled. "Yeah, women have it so easy, being invisible to each other. We might risk everything coming onto a colleague who turns out to be horrified by our very existence. Or some girl we teach could get angry about her grade and—" "Touché." Fenton sighed and scratched something off in his notes. "Thank God you've got Carolyn. That must be a comfort." She blurted out the barest facts of the breakup with Carolyn, while they perched on uncomfortable wrought iron chairs with tags that read, "Ernest, Spring '59." Props from an Oscar Wilde production that had drawn huge crowds. "I truly don't know what to say." Fenton rubbed the palm of her hand in a soothing way. except that I never much liked her." Jen stiffened. "You barely knew her." "That's right. She never deigned to come to you, always making you travel to her. Selfish and self-centered, if you ask me." "It was my choice," Jen said. "Richmond was safer for us than a town where everybody knows everybody's business." "Still, I saw her maybe twice in what, 5 years?" "6, which gave you plenty of time to let me know what you really thought, friend." "I couldn't tell you the truth. You were so much in love." Jen let go of the anger that had flared in her. Many times she'd kept her opinions close to the vest with friends, too. "Love," she said with a shrug. "That's something I won't be rushing back into." Their heads swerved at the sound of light footsteps coming from the direction of the stage. Fenton dropped her hand, his eyes widening, and he leapt to his feet. Jen was surprised to see one of her students emerge from the shadows, clutching what looked like a script. "Oh, I'm so sorry, Mr. Page. Dr. Ryder, did I get the audition time wrong?" Fenton fished out his gold pocket watch. "I'd say so. We won't start till at least 4:30. "Sorry, it's my first time going out for school play." "Well, you're welcome to take a seat in the orchestra, Miss Sutter, Margaret Sutter. I think I'll just come back later." Margaret mumbled another apology and slunk out the way she had entered. Fenton clicked his tongue. Jen wasn't sure what bothered her fastidious friend more, the girl's earliness or the fact that she'd come backstage uninvited. "Margaret's one of my advisees," Jen said. "Always comes to office hours. She's a good egg, but she can get underfoot." Fenton's face registered annoyance. "I don't like them skulking around, eavesdropping even. What were we talking about when she showed up?" Jen raised an eyebrow. "I believe you were telling me how very much you disliked Carolyn." His cheeks colored. "I'm sorry, hon. I shouldn't have." "I'm teasing, Fenton. Feel free to hate Carolyn as much as you want." She cast a look at her wristwatch as she stood to leave. "Anyway, I don't think the girl could have heard much. Maybe she saw you holding my hand and will tell everyone we're a couple." He expelled his relief with a burst of laughter. "Ah, yes. But a couple of what?" Thanks, everyone, and thanks to Saints and Sinners for hosting this online event. I hope to see you all next year in person. Stay well.